Hello everyone, and Merry Christmas to all our Christian brothers and sisters. And I also want to appreciate you for your immense support to the Brand Colossus. So yes, we are here to review this edition. This is the second part of our review of our quarterly magazine. As promised, we're here to review this edition of our magazine. And recall that I said that in the course of the year, we published 4 editions of the Brand Colossus Magazine. So we will be reviewing to look at some of the contents that are in this magazine and urge you to download to get the digital version. We have interesting content here, very useful content, historical content, not just informative content. They are very educative as well. So we thought that it will be nice for us to do the reviews of our contents, so you can, get a copy and make sure you get access to this information that we have published here. So yes, we have Mr. Larry Adesa, the president of the Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria, OAAN, and Mr. Dozie Okafor, the president of the Media Independent Practitioners Association of Nigeria, MIPAN, on the front cover of this magazine. So you might be wondering, why? Now, before we published this edition of the magazine, we witnessed, should I say, an historical moment where there was a transition of power from the previous president being Mr. now Dr. Femi Adelusi, president of the Media Independent Practitioners of Nigeria. He served 2 terms and he handed over to Mr. Dozie Okafor after an election was held, where Mr. Dozie Okafor was elected unopposed, really, alongside other officials of the association. So the Brand Colossus was there to witness this in Lakowe Beach, somewhere in Lagos State. So yes, so we decided to feature that event in this magazine. It was a very significant one because it speaks to continuity and of course transformation, so it was more or less how would this administration really build on the successes of the previous one, and also how can it also be innovative enough to lead to a more transformational growth for the sector and industry at large. And also we witnessed the election of OAAN, where Mr. Larry Adesa was elected as president of the association, taking over from Mr. Steve Babaiko, who also served 2 terms. And from our, analysis and research, and also, when we interacted with professionals in the industry, there were lots of expectations as to what the administration would behold for the various sectoral groups and then the industry at large. I would love to really give you a review of how they fared, but I won't do it here or now. So yeah, we're just going to stick to the review of the magazine. And so I'll just quickly show you the page where we featured both strong men, I would say, strong men in the industry. They're tough, very intelligent, very talented men in the industry. A very interesting read. I would urge you to really look out for this one. Really look out for this one. And you can see the impact they've made since they became president, particularly OAAN. You can see some of the collaboration, kind of synergy that he has, sort of initiated amongst the various sectoral groups. So it's something that I would urge you to look at, right? So that's why I just started from the front cover, but there are other contents here that you would like to see. So on the first page, we have advertising spend projected to reach 8 billion naira with newly launched audience measurement system. Recall that in the first edition of our magazine, we spoke about the fact that during that time, the top burner issue was about the audience measurement system that was to be launched in July. And so there have been projection, according to the content we have here, that it will lead to about 8 billion naira in terms of advertising spend through the audience measurement system, the newly launched audience measurement system. And another story again about the advertising sector says that Nigeria's advertising industry valued at 605.2 billion naira, multiplier effect at 1 naira to 16 naira 5 kobo, right? Yeah, so that's it. You can find this here. Really something you should see. I don't know if this is clear enough for you to see, right? Okay. So we have stories from Toleram, from Guinness, when they announced their departure from Nigeria after 75 years. We have MTN Nigeria CMO Adia Suho, who resigns after transformational tenure. You might want to see that. And we have several stories from Access Bank and all that. Another interesting content I would like to brag about is the ad review that we usually do in every edition of our publication. So in this edition of our publication, we actually reviewed the Terra Seasoning ad, the one that won several awards. We reviewed the Terra Seasoning ad, the one that won several awards in 2023. In 2023, won several awards. And as always, we'll get the thoughts of our ad review boards recorded. Remember, I said our ad review board is chaired by Mr. Ozone Ubanefo, the provost of one of the leading advertising schools in Nigeria, O2 Academy. We have also on the board Emeka Obia, we have Muyiwa, we have Wolabi, we have Buki, and Ulayo sitting as members on the board. And so we usually get the thoughts from the ad judged against different parameters. A very interesting read, a very elaborate read as well. I would urge you to look at this. Then we have a Sosa who worked on the ad from the agency side. She gave us the agency perspective of the ad. You can see her there. So what we usually do, we like to also understand the strategic direction of the advert. So beyond getting the ad review board speak to the ads, to share their thoughts on the ad in terms of creativity, excellence, strategy, and how all of the elements were really brought together to convey the needed message. We also thrive to get the agency perspective. If we can't get the brand perspective, we always thrive to get the agency perspective. And so in this edition, we got the agency perspective. Inside Publicist is the agency that worked on the Terra Seasoning Cube ad, and we had to get their thoughts on what drove the strategic idea and concept around the brand. It's something you really need to look at. It is something you really need to look at. Very interesting. Now, unwrap taste, unwrap joy. Really, unwrap taste, unwrap joy. Right? The next content that I would like you to see is the Marketing Retrospect. Recall that I said in our first review that one content that we really worked hard to put together is the Marketing Retrospect, where we look into the history of institutions. And in this edition, recall that the first review we looked at NIMN from the review, when we look at how NIMN started, what are those stories that were never out there, we actually dug into to get those facts, right? So in this edition, we actually looked at ARCON from the review, and as always, we went through and through to get the facts that represents how ARCON started. As you can see, we have some of the founding fathers, people that who formed the building blocks of ARCON here. So we have these are actually the past chairman of ARCON. The past chairman of ARCON. We have Dr. Mezeribe. We have Chief Olufalomo. Incredible story. You need to see this. These are more of the past chairman. I'm sure you recognize Mr. Udemelfort and Mr. Lolu Akiwumi. I'm sure you can. These are the past registrars of ARCON. And so when you get this edition of the magazine, you'll be able to really look into how ARCON started. This is the registrar of ARCON. It is really an extensive one, really very elaborate, and how the DG, the current DG was appointed and reappointed, right? Like I said, it represents the facts about how ARCON started, so you should get it, right? You should get it. Well, we also featured an interview with the past president of MIPAN, Dr. Femi Adelusi. We got into his mind. If you want to know his mind, before and after being president of the association, this is a must read. You need to see this. You need to see this. If you want to get into his mind, you need to see this. And yeah, he shared all of those thoughts with us in an exclusive interview, right? Yeah. Another one we did was to feature Seplat Energy PLC. Seplat Energy PLC. We had a very elaborate feature of the brand and its impact in changing the lives, improving the lives of members of host communities across the, I think, Delta State, Edo State, and Abia, I guess. So yeah, it was an elaborate feature. Seplat Energy PLC. And so we did a review of Mrs. Tolule Medebem, the president. Recall that I mentioned that she was elected as the first female president in 2023. So we did a review of the impact she has made since she got elected. And for NIMN, there was an election of the second vice president and the first vice president and second vice president. And there was an election. 4 council seats were filled in that election. We featured that here. And then we also featured a story on the 51st annual general meeting of OAAN, where Mr. Larry Adisa was elected as president. So we also have a story on Dr. Emmanuel Agu being appointed as chair of the Advertising Standards Panel. A lot to say, but I'll keep my mouth shut for now. So yes, and then another one is we featured the audience measurement system that was launched in November. We featured it here. It's also an elaborate one. Brand Colossus was there live in Abuja when this launch was done, and so we had a very elaborate feature on that. Another interesting part is the interview we had with the OAAN president, Mr. Sola Akinsiku, where he spoke about overregulation stifling the growth of the out-of-home advertising industry or sector. Yeah, so it's also a very interesting read, and I urge you. A very elaborate one, as you can see. Yeah. A very elaborate one. So I urge you to please get a copy or download the digital version with the link that will be attached to this video. Please download the digital version and get this content. It is very useful, very informative, very educative. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the next review with you. Bye.